Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it so much.
Dude, of course.
So please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Sabrina Stacks. I'm a consultant at Deloitte. Right now, I work in our generative AI strategy practice. Before that, I was at a client-facing consulting firm, um, doing like operations strategy, doing like labor model optimization, a lot of like efficiency-based work. Before that, I was at Vassar College doing my undergrad, studied psychology as my major, and then I minored in a bunch of like random shit. And now I'm here. I'm like ready for kind of career change. Um, Looking to get into the venture capital space, and that's kind of a little bit about me, and that's why I was interested in B school, and that's why I needed to take the leap of faith with the GMAT, and hence why Isaac and I are now buddies.
That's awesome. I couldn't possibly be happier about that. So what was the problem you had prior to joining TGS?
So I went to a college, a liberal arts college, and we had no requirements whatsoever in terms of like quantitative skills. So I would say the most quant heavy class I took was psych stats, where I was like friends with a professor who did all my work for me. So I basically did no math whatsoever in college, and I knew that I was going to want to eventually do the GMAT. And my dad was, convincing me to start studying during college my senior year. And there was just no bone in my body that wanted to start that process. I was just like, I'm done. COVID hit when I was a senior. So I was just like, so much going through my mind. My job that I was supposed to start got delayed. Finally, about what was it, maybe like a year and a half after I graduated, I finally was like, all right, I'm ready to start studying for this exam. I bought the books, I opened the books, and I started crying. I was like, I literally don't know how to add fractions. Like, I don't know how to multiply numbers. Like, none of this is. I looked at the book, I started reading the first page, and I seriously just felt this crazy feeling of overwhelmed. Honestly, it's embarrassment. I was like, how am I not remembering all these super simple math things that I learned when I was in like fifth grade? I don't know how to do any of it. I wouldn't even take a practice test. And I was reading online like, oh, you got to just take a baseline practice test. I wouldn't take it because I was so overwhelmed just reading that first page of the GMAT official guide. And so that was really what I was struggling with, was really just like getting that first step, like putting my foot in the door. And Yeah, I hope I answered the question. I think the question was what was I struggling with, and the struggle was just getting started. So
That's perfect. That's exactly what I asked. So was there anything that made you join TGS over a different program?
100%. So I feel like I had a bunch of people, that I knew went to business school, a bunch of people recommending tutors and whatnot, and nothing really spoke to me about. Like, I had a bunch of people recommending tutors out in like India and stuff, and I was like, I mean, okay, great, I can send an email to some random person. But actually, at my first job, the one where I was doing this labor modeling, I had some pretty insane on-site like client projects. One involved walking around freezers overnight at a client site, like a warehouse, and basically all my colleagues were listening to music as we're walking throughout the aisles, like mapping where all of the product was. Like, all my buddies were listening to like whatever Kendrick Lamar, and my dad was like, "Why don't you like do some GMAT?" And I was like, what kind of GMAT could I possibly do while I'm walking around the aisles?" So I was like, "All right, I'll just type into my Spotify like GMAT." This podcast came up called the GMAT Strategy. I started listening to it. I was like, all right, here goes nothing. Like, I've got nothing else to do with my time at 3 o'clock in the morning and like a freezer, like an industrial freezer. Like, I might as well make myself even more miserable by listening to a GMAT podcast. Um, so I'm like, all right, guess we'll hit the play button. And all of a sudden, this like super personable guy starts talking, and he's like just so relatable. He's basically starts like, "Oh yeah, like this sucks. Like this test sucks." And it's like, I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I totally agreed." It like just felt like I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and so I just like I finished the podcast honestly so fast because I was just genuinely interested, and I really liked the way this guy did quote this guy. If you haven't already figured it out, is Isaac. This guy, I just really loved the way this guy talked and the way I felt when I was like listening to him. And so I just like decided to figure out how to reach out to this guy and see if he would be interested in talking to me and maybe working together. Cause I mean, I didn't know what kind of services you offered, but I was like, well, maybe he'd be willing to, give me a couple lessons. And I don't really know what I need, but I definitely know that I like the sound of this guy. So yeah, that's exactly what inspired me to reach out to you.
That's awesome. I couldn't possibly be happier to hear that the pod resonated, and, it definitely sounds pretty rough walking around a freezer in the middle of the night, searching for GMAT-related podcasts, but I'm sure plenty of business consultants out there can relate. Uh,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's how it goes sometimes, so I'm happy I could be there in the time of need
Oh
as
man, yeah.
so was there anything about our program that was particularly helpful for you?
The one-on-one, I mean, I can't like the one-on-one nature of it, and just like, and the personable nature of you was like, I couldn't have asked for anything more. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of if I were just talking to some random person in a different country who I don't know, helping hundreds of students. And I know that, TGS is a small program, and like obviously you and I've established like an amazing relationship. It's we go far beyond just the I'm asking you a bunch of GMAT math questions. Like, I genuinely care about how your day is going. Like, I know about your family. Like, I've met some of your family. Like you've been at my birthday parties. It's like we've established a relationship where it's like it's so far beyond, and it's like it actually makes me want to like learn and do better. And I trust you. Like, that element of trust is just so there. Um, and it really enabled me. I mean, going through the GMAT, there are so many roadblocks that any student will encounter. There are those times where you are so done and you've had an insane week. And I mean, you're traveling. Like, I was going back and forth, New York, Seattle, and the last thing I wanted to be doing, I'm taking red eye flights. The last thing I wanted to be doing is studying for the GMAT. Like, it's like you don't even have time. You're like prioritizing this over your social life, your like athletic life, like it just so many things. And so like having that element of like trust and just being able to know that somebody actually cares about me, somebody's there. It's like a small, like, feels like kind of grassrootsy type program. It really like inspired me to keep going and helped me kind of push through those times where I was like, I'm so done. I'm just gonna like throw in the towel. I know I'm not gonna hit this score. So yeah, it was definitely kind of like a combination of you and like, the nature of the program. And just like, again, kind of going back to the podcast and your ability to explain things, just like your ability to interact with me and I'm sure other students in a way that just makes sense and is no like element of intimidation, no like anything of that. It's just you just say things in a way that just makes a ton of sense. You'll keep trying to explain it until I get it right. And even when if I don't get it right, we're talking about the same problem for an hour, like you'll spend time and give me like I'll get an email from you a couple hours later and you're like trying to find another way to explain it. So just like the element of how personable you are and just how much care and trust and devotion you have into this program, it just like feeds directly into me and how much I care about, putting myself into this program too.
I appreciate you saying all that so much, and I'm so touched, and, yeah, just couldn't be happier that you took the leap and that we got some great results and that you enjoyed the process. That's really, really important to me. So, as a result of implementing the stuff that we worked on, what have the results been for you?
Yeah, man. So took the GMAT one time, one shot wonder. And I guess I should say I never took a baseline test for the reasons I explained before. I was scared. I was like, I figured there's probably zero chance I would even get a 500 on this test. So I was like, I'm just not going to take this and I'll just take it for the first time. Like, I'll do some practice tests, but when I'm feeling ready. So, my final official test score is a 700. Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't even feel real. It's crazy. Um, I started out after, I would say I probably took my first practice test after maybe so I studied for the whole, about 15 months total. Um, there were definitely some hiccups in the road. I lost my job at one point, like a big mass consulting layoff, which threw a huge hiccup in my plan. Had to spend a couple of months fully devoting my time to finding another job. Luckily, I found like an even better new job, which I'm super thrilled about. Um, but obviously that kind of put a damper on my timeline. But I would say I probably took my first practice test about maybe like a year or so into studying. I recognize I was probably on like the longer end, but whatever, we got it done either way. So I started out my first practice test. I think I went like 640, then 650, then 650, then 680. And then I actually had a pretty negative practice test the week before I actually took the exam, 630. So I was really bummed about that. But then, tied up a bunch of the like loose ends, kind of really tried to focus on the few things I was getting wrong that one week before the test. went into the test, actually meditated. Shout out to my mom for making me do that. And I wound up getting a 700, and I honestly couldn't be more proud. That was the goal score. I just wanted to see a 7. I didn't care what the other two numbers were. As long as I got a 7, I was going to be happy. And I'm just super lucky that first time made it work. So, yeah.
Well, I think the harder we work, the luckier we get, and you definitely
True.
earned all 700 of those points. So great job. I couldn't possibly be more proud with everything you were facing through the process, the adversity. I know I said it a million times, but you handled it so well, and you deserve it. Great job.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
my pleasure. My pleasure. So, how has life changed now that you are in the 700 club?
Well, man, I mean, it hasn't been too long. It's been only like 2 weeks since I've been in the 700 club. But on the subway, well, I mean, I don't know. This is just kind of another like little note. Part of putting in the work was like finding unorthodox ways to get it done. So I would have like my flashcards I would do every day. I'd have my like redo list problems. I'd have my like time problems, and obviously like doing the flashcards kind of in the middle of the day definitely could take up some time. So I was like, all right, what's another way I can do this? I take the subway on the way to work. It's like takes all of 5 minutes. That's more than enough time for me to bang out 25 flashcards. I'm going pretty quickly. And so yeah, I would do that on the subway. And it's funny because I'm sitting on the subway now, like going to work, going to the gym, and I'm like feeling like I'm there's something I'm supposed to be doing and I'm not doing it. And then I'm like, oh, I don't need to be doing those flashcards anymore. Yeah, I actually just looked at my books last night and I was like, when am I going to burn these things? But yeah, I mean, it hasn't really sunk in yet. The only thing that has been, I've been attending a bunch of like info sessions for programs whereas I was attending info sessions before, kind of as more of like an aspirational mindset. Now it's like, okay, I really am in the group of people that could actually be accepted here. Like I'm totally in the game. So I think my mindset has shifted into from what was before, like this would be amazing. Like I only hope I can do this to all right, like let's go. This is a very real possibility, and I'm totally like a player in this game. So I mean, I think it's only going to get more real as the time goes, but yeah, I guess it hasn't fully sunk in yet, but everybody who's in my life is like really happy that the GMAT's over because now I'm actually like a free woman. Because before I was definitely like dating the GMAT. And now I have time for myself and my friends and work, and I think everybody's like, okay, thank God this chapter is closed. So
Well, that's so awesome, and you're definitely a player in the game. I remember so clearly pre getting my score when I was struggling, watching my score go down multiple times, just like how much self-doubt I had and just like what an awful feeling that was. And I still remember it like it was yesterday breaking through. And every time any one of you in the program breaks through, it's like that feeling all over again. So I couldn't possibly be happier to hear you've got that confidence and that pep in your step, man. Great job.
thanks, man.
Yeah. So, any idea where you'd be right now if you hadn't joined the program and we hadn't worked together?
Bro, like I don't lost. Like that's like a ridiculous question. I honestly like I mean my whole this whole process I credit to Isaac. Like I would be no this isn't even like a joke. Like I would still be opening up that book and crying. Like
Oh, man.
If I was like right here. For real, because I had what I needed was and I said this to you day one. I was like, I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to do it. I need somebody to hold me accountable, give me homework assignments every single night. Like, tell me you're like, if I don't do, like, we need to meet whatever 3 times a week. And before Wednesday, you have to have this assignment done. Like, I really love being held accountable, being like, disciplined is a funny word, but it's like, I need that discipline. And I certainly wasn't going to, give it to myself. I didn't even know how to give it to myself. I didn't know the first thing about like where to even start.
Hmm.
So I mean, if I didn't have you, I don't think I would have even taken the test. I think I'd probably just see a career in consulting for maybe the rest of my life and stay kind of where I am. Honestly, like if I didn't have you, there's no chance I'd be going to business school. Like zero. It's like, it's laughable to me because I'm like, if I didn't have you, there would be no business school. It's like, yeah, absolutely critical. Yeah, no joke.
Thanks, man. I don't know if I can take that much credit, but I appreciate it. And
It's true. It's totally
yeah,
true.
I'm just glad you took the leap, and it was so fun working together. I know this is probably crazy to say, but like I would do it all over again. I know you're on to bigger and better things. Fortunately, you don't have to do it all over again. uh,
Dude, if we were in a position where I was like, you know what, I want to get an 800 and I had the time, I would do it all over again too. but
I
I think
appreciate
I'm
that.
done.
I appreciate that, and I think there's many people out there right now who can relate. Once you cross that finish line, things
Yeah,
change.
yeah,
Um,
man.
so yeah, last question. I mean, if anyone's on the fence about booking a call to speak to us or even joining the program, is there anything you would say to them?
I mean, I I cannot recommend this program enough. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. I don't know how I got so lucky that I just like found this random ass podcast and like happened to find this golden nugget of a guy. Like, I mean, I've recommended two of my closest friends into the program. You know, it's like an absolute steal to get. I just, I don't even have the right words to describe how amazing TGS and Isaac are. I don't know about really much about other programs. All I know is there was nothing that was like pushing me towards joining another one. What attracted me to Isaac is, I think, like why everybody falls in love with him is because he just has this incredible nature. And he really is the face of this program. And it's like foolproof. You're going to love him. You're going to love the program. You're going to want to do well. You're a team. And I think like in this situation, you need a really strong team, and Isaac is the best teammate that you could ask for. So he's been there like through thick and thin, like through any situation. You know, he's been there for me. Like when I lost my job, he was there for me, like whatever I needed. Um, and more importantly, he's just been a great friend, and like that's what you need throughout this process because this is a brutal process, and it is a chapter of your life that is going to be demanding, and you're going to need to be very gritty, and you need a really really good partner in crime, and Isaac is the textbook definition and beyond what that is. So I mean, hey, Isaac, give people my number. They can call me and ask me, like, you know, for some honest reviews. But here it is. I'm spilling it all out there. This is the real deal. And I can't recommend it enough.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and it takes one to know one, man. And I couldn't possibly have enjoyed working together more. I appreciate the trust so much. Thanks for taking the time to do this, just to help people out who might be struggling or doubting themselves or on the fence one way or the other. And yeah, just thank you so much again for taking the time. I know you're super busy, and let's go for the application piece, man. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't
man.
wait.
Let's go. Let's go.
All
At
right.
Hustlers University. Let's go. All right.
Thanks again, man. Thanks again.
Of course, man. See you later.
Bye bye.